Hello, welcome Year 1 parents. I am Mrs Hills.
And I am Mrs Jones.
And we have decided that because we said to you back in June on the Zoom that we would be very much anticipating you coming in and seeing the classroom in the flesh, and we've talked through so many different things with you about classroom routines, and obviously COVID has not allowed us to do that. So we decided to put together a little video to help you know what's going on.
Yeah, so the aim of this video is just to allow you to have a little window into our classroom, to show you some of the things that we're doing in the classroom, that your children might have talked about when they come home, things like the way in which we manage behaviour in the classroom and rewards, and also to give you a few top tips for how you can support your child at home with things like reading and writing. So we would have loved to have had you in the classroom to do that, but we hope that this is a good second. So, first up, let's have a look at some classroom routines.
And we just wanted to show you the room. So this is the room at the end of the day, and you can see we've got all our superheroes flying, so the little faces, and they've chosen their colours, and we've got superhero kind of words going on. We've got the reading tree with the reading corner under there. Obviously we can't use it fully like we would normally because of the situation at the moment, but these are their desks all facing forward as the guidance mentions, and then we have birthdays and things like that all at the back. The teaching area is here for the whiteboard, and then the main screen here, and this is where the grown-ups will sit. Benji on the side there, and so I hope that gives you a flavour of how the room looks and where your child's coming every day. So this is the visual timetable, just so you can get an idea of what happens every morning. I get this silly pointer out and I go along, so we'll all put on, so Mrs Jones or I will put on the course of the day, so all the lessons that are going to happen that day will go up there, and then we run through it, we talk it through with them, we tell them what's happening, and then we allow some time for questions if they're not certain. They're really into the rhythm of it now, so they understand that this was a Tuesday, this is what a Tuesday looks like. Sometimes there's changes, but generally speaking, that is exactly what will be happening during the course of the day, and that gives them the opportunity to know exactly what's happened, to be really assured that everything's going to be going to plan, hopefully, during the course of that day. So just to show you our marble situation, so if the children mentioned about marbles, what happens is we start with a big pot of marbles at the beginning of the year, and then we give out marbles according to whole class reward. So if the entire class is lined up beautifully, or if they've worked really hard all together, then marbles go in the marble jar, and they really love this. It's also, we have marbles for members of staff who mention, and then their good behaviour, and also for the bosses, as we refer to them, so Mrs Folger, Mrs Page, Mrs Handy, Mrs McHugh, who would put a gold marble in the jar if they say to the children that they've been really well behaved. So that is what happens for the whole of the class to ensure that we're working as a team, and they love to say teamwork makes the dream work. So this is the behaviour reward system that we have going on in Year 1. So you can see it's a very superhero themed, which is our whole theme as we bring them in through transition from reception. And they start on ready to fly, so every child has a peg, and then as the day goes on, the aim is for the child to move their peg up, and that's just by showing this really good behaviour, good listening, good learning behaviour is really important as well. So we talk about this all the time, and the pegs slowly move up, so they might go up to soaring high, and then the aim of the game is to get one child normally a day. There's normally more than one, but one that will get superhero, and we keep a tally of that, so your child will not go without if you've not had one yet. So then the peg moves up, and we have a big celebration in the classroom at the end of the day, just to say, congratulations, you've become a superhero. They get a little certificate to take home with them to show them. Just says well done, just to keep a record for them at home, and then we bring all the pegs back down the following day, so we start again. The place they don't like to go is down on the ladder, so this is our verbal warning area, which we have as a whole school, and then also danger is an area they don't like to go, and no one's gone there yet, so that's really good news. And then if they come down to the red area, the boom, then that means we would talk to you about there being a having been an issue that day. That was quite serious to get that far down. So we're optimistic with the class, and we know them already a little bit that probably won't happen. So lots of pegs going up, and that's what they mean when they talk about the peg going up and getting the certificate.
So when we're talking to children about how to read and to write, we have to break down the sounds that they're going to be needing into the sounds that are used in the English language. Now, as adults, we're all taught that there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and that is still true even today, but we use those letters in different ways to make different sounds, and altogether there are 44 sounds in the English language. So the children have to learn how to read and write all of those 44 sounds, not just as individual letters, but actually as groups of letters as well that can make one sound. There are some words that we're going to be using with the children which might be useful for you to know as well. So one of them is the phoneme. Now a phoneme is what sound a letter makes. Think of it as phone, you speak on the phone, it makes a sound. Phoneme is the sound that a letter can make. And the grapheme is the way in which we write that sound down. So we have got some single letter sounds here, which I just want to run through with you because we use something called pure sounds to teach phonics with. A few of the mistakes that some people can make with phonics when you're perhaps reading with your child is that sometimes we tend to put an extra sound on the end of it. So for example, the letter here, W, makes a sound. Some people, when they're sounding out, would add an sound at the end of it to make it sound like a W. But when we're teaching the children to read, we just want them to say the pure sound, W. Because when you actually start putting those sounds together, if you add an sound onto each of all of these letters, then it can make a funny sound. It can make the word not sound like it should do. So some of these letters which you might struggle with when you're sounding them out with your children are these ones here. So we've already got the W. This one here, not R, but R. Not T, but T, just from the very tip of your teeth. Not T, but T. Can you hear the difference? This one here. Y, not Y, but Y. It's difficult. This one here. S, like at the beginning of the word snake. It's not S. We don't have an sound after it. This one here. Not F, but F. Long sound. This one. Not H, but you should be able to just feel the air coming out of your mouth. This one is a favourite of mine. Not L, but L. And these ones here, the last two. And not N and M, but N and M. So when we're in school, we ask the children to use these. These are our sound mats here, which have got all of our single sounds on. And then on the back are the rest of the 44 sounds that we use in the English language. And we rely very heavily on using these sound mats in the classroom so that the children can find their own sounds, their own pure sounds, and use those to write with. If you want to have a look on YouTube, there's a lady called Ruth Miskin from Read Write Inc. And she does a video called Pure Sounds, and it might be really good if you take the time just to listen to her pronounce each of the pure sounds so that you can help your children when they're reading to use those.
So when we're teaching phonics with the children on a daily basis, we are using these kinds of flashcards just to show you in the beginning. So the sound is on this side, and then the rhyme as such is on the flip side, and this is really helpful in terms of them grasping what the sound is and what the context is for that sound as well. I've started with these two because they're a little bit tricky. So this is an all-time favourite in year one, of course, because this is the oo digraph, and when we turn it over, it is poo at the zoo, which causes great hilarity, as you'd imagine. But I just wanted to show you this because this is the second almost alternative sound for this, which is and then it is look at a book. So this is the shorter sound, and the poo at the zoo, you can hear, is the longer sound. We would then be looking at some other digraphs, which are something like this, which is I, where the first consonant does all the talking, and then over here, pie on a tie. Then we have snail in the rain, which is for the A. So the vowel, so I said consonant earlier, but it's the vowel, obviously, does all the talking here. And where there's an old rhyme which says when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking, which children may not know at this stage, but that is a useful thing. And then it's snail in the rain. And then we have some trigraphs, which is the three together, which is the I sound, I, and the rhyme and the picture for that is fly high. Have actions to go with all of these. And then, as we move on, we will also be looking at the very tricky thing. Some people refer to it as a magic E. We would refer to it as a split digraph. So it's those two sounds together, but they are split. So here is the I split digraph, where, as some of you will know, the E, we don't hear that E, so it's silent. And here is a young man, and he has got a nice smile. So it's the I that we hear, and we call these the splits or the split digraphs, and we'll be working through those in the upcoming months.
So all of the cards that we use are actually available on Amazon, and I'm sure that you can get them elsewhere as well. But if you would like to buy a set of cards to help your child, then have a look for them. They are Read Write Ink, and they are set 2 and set 3 cards that we use in year 1. It might help you to have them at home, to have them out so that you can help your child look at all of those rhymes, those mnemonics that we use to remind them of the sounds that we're learning, the 44 sounds. So we're just going to have a look now at how we would teach a child to read using those 44 sounds. We're always bringing the children's attention back to what are those 44 sounds, and when you're breaking down a word, how many of those sounds can you see in there? So for example, if we have a look at this grapheme here, we've got the phoneme, the A sound. And if I was to put that into a word, a simple word for us, like for example rain, we know that rain is written like this. And if you were to sound it out as single sounds, you would say r, a, I, n. And we know that when we try and blend those sounds, r, a, I, n, it doesn't make the word rain. It doesn't make any sense. That's because in the middle here we have got our digraph, our 2 letters that go to make one sound. And because these 2 letters here make one sound, they're one of our 44 sounds, and to symbolise that, we could put a line underneath it to say that these letters here have to make one sound when we're reading it out. This one, we say on its own, so we put a round little dot. This one makes one sound, but it's using 2 letters, so we put a line to show us that those letters go together to make a longer sound. And here at the end, we've got the n, which makes a short sound, which we have to squeeze on. Now when we try and read our word, it says r, a, n, rain, 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 and I've blended that for reading. So that's how we would use a digraph like that. If we have a look though at perhaps something like this, a trigraph, 3 different letters that make up one grapheme and make up one sound, the I sound. If I was to write the word right again, r, I, g, t, doesn't make sense. But when I put in my sound buttons underneath, I can spot my trigraph there. So I'm going to do one line underneath because I know that that button will make one sound. We call these sound buttons. And then here, a little dot at the end because I know that that's a single sound on its own. So now my word, I can decode it to say I, t, right, and then it gives us the word. And so the last one we're going to look at is how we actually would do a sound button for one of these split digraphs. It could be a digraph on its own. If it didn't have a letter in between there, it would still make an I sound by its own. Like, for example, the word tie, necktie. It would still make the I sound. But in this word, it's going to be split up with a consonant in between. So I might choose to write the word tie, but in this word here, I'm going to put a consonant in the middle. And instead of having t, I, l, e, these two here are going to make the sounds that they would normally make. But this one here is my split digraph. And to show it goes together, I'm going to draw a linking line underneath, a sound button like this, to show that they go together. So when I'm reading it with my child, I might say t, I, u. And before looking at that, I would say to my child, look, this word ends in an E. Is there a digraph that that word can have in it? Is there something, another letter, a vowel that would go with this E to make a split digraph? Otherwise, they struggle to find them a bit. So hopefully that's helpful for you.
So Mrs. Jones has just shown us how to blend a word when we are reading with our children, but now we're going to look at how to segment the word out when we are writing it. So if I wanted to help a child to write the word tap, and I'm using the phase 2 sound mat here, I would encourage them to find the t, t, t sound, and they'll be able to see that and locate that, and then use that to write their their sound. And then they're going to think through, what can you hear next? And then encourage them to find that next sound. There it is, apple. So we'll put that on next. And then finally, what can you hear at the end of that word? Tap, tap, p. What can they hear? They'll see, yes, here for parcel, and then write that on. And then they have successfully managed to find those sounds and put them together in order to be able to spell that word. Then if we go over to the phase 3 sound mat on the other side, we could ask them to spell out a word like ring. So we're going to ask them to think about what can they hear at the beginning of that word. We're going to hear r. So we're going to take that, having found that on the other side, r, I. And where is that on that side? I, ink. So let's put that on. And then here we've got one of our digraphs. So they're used to this. I'll show you this on here. And we do strong for that one. So they're going to copy that across onto there. And then they've successfully segmented out the word ring.
So as if it wasn't complicated enough for them, having to learn those 44 sounds and to be able to both read them and to write them and to recognise them in a word as a sound button, there are some words which just don't follow suit, and we call those our common exception words. And in the front of your child's spelling folder, there is a list of the common exception words which the Year 1 children are expected to learn throughout this year. Common exception words are called common exception words because they don't follow the rules of being able to be sounded out. So if we have a look at the common exception word the, we've got, normally we would say there's a sound button and there's a single sound there. But if we sound it doesn't blend, doesn't blend to make the word the. We know that the is a common exception word. You cannot sound it out, you just have to learn it. You just have to learn that those letters in that order, actually when we read them and we write them, they spell and sound out the word the. Another one of these, just for an example, is this word here. Off. That's what the children think it is. But we know it's not. Actually, it makes a sound of. It doesn't use the right letters for those sounds. It doesn't create the right phonemes. When you blend it out using the sound buttons, when you sound it out using the sound buttons, you just have to learn them that actually says the word of. So there's a list of those that your children have got in the front of their spelling folders, and we also have a list of those in school that the children can use. And if you Google any website actually looking for common exception words for year 1, this is a year 1 and 2 sound map that we're encouraging them to use, then you will actually be able to find all of those common exception words that they need to learn just by sight in whichever way they can. Maybe it's drawing them in the bath water. Maybe it's just recounting them, the letters using the letter names. Maybe it's making the letters with Play-Doh. Maybe it's just that they pick them up after reading them time after time. Whichever way they can learn that those letters make those words. Could it be more confusing? Possibly not.
So thank you so much for watching, and we hope it's been really useful for you.
And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. You know how to contact us via the dojo. We always look forward to your messages. And yeah, any problems, any concerns, any worries, we are always here for you to support you and your children. Thank you.